And Beckham saw Sullivan off his line. Oh!
This is a private member's bar.
That is absolutely phenomenal.
Exclusively for the supporters of the greatest football team in the world.
Cleared, Giggs with a shot. Sheringham!
Manchester United.
Beckham into Sheringham. And Solskjaer has won it!
Alright, D. Normally I do a whole big thing and write a teaser or whatever, but I'm not really in the festive mood for this podcast, and I'm pretty sure you're not either. I think a chat that we were talking to about talking points for this podcast, and it was United is shit, Eric Ten Hag's tactics are shit. And I think those pretty much covers everything that we're probably going to talk about tonight, right?
If any United fan doesn't agree with that United are currently shit and Ten Hag's tactics are shit, then they need to have their head a wobble. Because we talked about it before the last podcast, before the Liverpool match. I was not looking forward to that match, and I think I actually might have said it was either going to be 3-0 or 3-1. I think I said it was going to be a repeat of the preseason match. I think it was going to be 3-0. I was hoping for a 1-each draw, and I'm not one of those people that's going to say, "Oh, I'd love to be right." Like, it was just diabolical.
Yeah, honestly, it really was. Honestly, watching it, it honestly brought up feelings of the 5-0 thumping when Solskjaer was there. I mean, it was just horrendous. And like me and you both talked earlier, I mean, they could have easily put up 6, 7, 8 goals. I mean, it was just an onslaught, man. Ugly.
Yeah. Oh no, definitely. And one of the things that I hate hearing other pundits, and they always seem to be former Liverpool players, or even Alan Shearer, for example, said it in the past, where it seems whenever United do go through something like they struggle during a match, and it's never, it's like, for example, Arsenal just went down to 10 men against Brighton, the same Brighton team that beat United 3-1, and they got a draw. And whereas United, if they would have went down a man when the going got tough, it's almost like United players just don't have a backbone. They don't seem to actually care. They don't want to pull their socks up and roll their sleeves up and think, right, let's just go ahead now and put a really good shift in. Once it starts to go bad, it just goes worse. Just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. It's like the players don't seem to. Well, they don't. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Well, and we'll get into it again. But I mean, I think it was about 10 minutes in the second half when Mo Salah's third goal, and it's like, they just shut down, and Liverpool basically, within a span of 5 minutes, they could have rattled off 2 or 3 more goals easily, and it's honestly lucky that they didn't.
That's what I'm saying. I don't get it. I don't get the players' mentality, and this is where I think a lot of players, former United players like Scholes, Roy Keane, Gary Neville, the list can go on. Peter Schmeichel, they all said that the team really does lack leaders, and it's true, because whenever it does go bad, they're getting bit 1-0 by Liverpool, and it was 2-0 halftime. You thought, okay, let's see what kind of character they have in them. And we talked about this in the past, where we said certain players like Harry Maguire's got good character. He stuck around and lost his captaincy, but he stuck around and started playing well. But he was still on the pitch, and he wasn't on the pitch, but he came on the pitch, and it didn't really change much. Johnny Evans came on, United Academy graduate, if you will. Not really changed. Bruno Fernandes didn't do much. It just seemed like there was no player that's willing to grab the team by the scruff of the neck and just sort of wake them up, kind of thing. Though, we grew up watching that, like Roy Keane, Wayne Rooney. No, those kind of players, don't have any of that. And that,
I mean, outside, I just don't really feel like. I'm not down on Garnacho. I think I'm not down on Mano yet. I know we'll get into a topic about that in a little bit later on in the podcast or whatever. But obviously, I know Bruno cares or whatever. But when I look at the rest of the team, I'm just, I'm not really sure, man. It's just like I don't feel like I have confidence in anyone on this team that is gonna, basically we call it back in the day, Fergie time or whatever, who is gonna be able to go get that and, basically grab their nutsack and get a goal in the last, in the game, or, if they need to eke out a draw or get that last goal or whatever to get 3 points or whatever. I just don't feel like we have that at all.
No, and you and I talked about that before. We jumped on the podcast, that It's crazy how much money United spent over the last couple of transfer windows since Ten Hag's come in, and it doesn't really. They seem to be paying. No, this summer is a little different, but the previous summers, they're paying top. No, the top of the. I don't know what the budget, if you will, for players, and they're just like, no, Hoyland's fee doesn't. He has not justified it.
No.
Anthony definitely hasn't justified it. They signed Varane for 40 million. He left because he's now, from rumors I'm hearing, is Como's trying to sever they're completely trying to get rid of his contract because he's injured again. Casemiro's looked the player, but obviously we will definitely get into more about him, but throughout the podcast, because we're going to just do an analysis of the Liverpool match at this point, because there's not much else we can really talk about. Like, I don't care. Like, I read something earlier today that United's going to trigger Crystal Palace player as Eze's.
Oh yeah, yep.
His release clause at 68 million. Again, 68 million. Is a good player? He's a great little player. But is he gonna? I don't think he's gonna come into a cesspool at United. Like United, like this whole they need to go through a rebuild. At this point now, United's become Ajax 2.0. They just seem to be buying Ajax players that Ten Hag managed 5 years ago and think, okay, that's gonna work. Going to try and put square pegs in a circle hole and hopefully it's going to figure it out. But at this point, I personally don't see Ten Hag making it past Halloween, just based on what I'm seeing. Last year during preseason, I watched every preseason match, and I could tell there was something wrong then. The performances weren't there. They started off the last season awful. They're starting off this season the exact same way, and it was down to the preseason. They played Rosenborg. They lost 1-0. Should have been 7, 8-0. It was like Liverpool. It was like Liverpool match was bad. Granted, there was a bunch of academy players on there, but then the same players showed up, got battered by Liverpool 3-0. In preseason, they beat Real Betis. Was it 3-2? But Real Betis. They're up 3-0 and ended up 3-2. And Real Betis were unfortunate not to score a couple of goals in that. There just wasn't really a convincing preseason. I get it's preseason; it's all about match fitness, but you also want to see players performing well. You want to see the tactics and a manager's philosophy really taking shape. It's the same old with United. Like Ten Hag just seems to, and it just doesn't seem to understand what he wants. And it's crazy when you look at the fact that there's managers that have been coming into jobs. Like Brighton has a new manager, hasn't playing well, haven't lost a match. They played 3, lost, played 3, 1-2, drew 1, and they drew Arsenal, who everyone had challenging for the league this year. Granted, Arsenal down to 10 men. Liverpool, Arne Slot, 3 for 3, no goals conceded. Everyone thought that Liverpool were going to struggle after their Messiah Klopp disappeared into the horizon. But if anything, the man's actually got them playing. It's not the heavy metal Klopp anymore, but he's got them playing more tactful. That's the way I would describe it. More meaningful. And then the other manager as well. Like you got Pepe Man City, and he's got 85 players at his disposal. But the new Chelsea manager as well. He's won a match. He beat Wolves 6-2. Well, he's got his team scoring.
Yeah, honestly, especially going into, the end of last season and into this summer, I mean, I was definitely one of them that, was making fun of Chelsea, but, I mean, Jesus, they look like they're in a better situation than we are right now.
Yeah, exactly. And they end up taking the player from United and Sancho. And watch Mark my words, watch Sancho play unreal for Chelsea. Watch it.
Oh yeah. And whenever he plays us, he'll go off, score a brace or a hat trick or something stupid like that.
I don't know if they changed the rules recently, but I don't know if I still think the law, the rule of the player loaned to the feeder club, or not the feeder club, but the parent club. Can't play against you. So. But again, I don't know if they put a new rule saying that if you have the loan with obligation to buy, maybe that's changed.
Yeah.
At this point, United don't seem to really. It's the tactics. We talked about it. We talked about it in length before we jumped on tonight. That Arne Slot did an interview after the match. You want me to pull it up right now? Here, go ahead.
There we go.
He did an interview with Daniel Sturridge and Roy Keane. So that's we were talking about earlier. That's the way the team started, and you were thinking, okay, Mainoo's going to sit in there with Casemiro, Bruno's going to try to support the front three, and Dallow's going to get forward like he always does from the left back position. Mazraoui's going to do his thing in the right wing. right back position. And honestly, from an outsider, not outsider, but from a United fan standpoint, everybody was saying that, okay, this is the strongest United team that Ten Hag has at his disposal. He's got Martinez back. Yeah. He's got the Lit's supposed to be coming in with a big reputation.
Yep.
The only thing here is Luke Shaw not being there, but at the same time, Dallow's done pretty well left back fitting in. But it just I've said it over and over again. United seemed to be the opposite. Last year, it was they never started matches well. They always seem to take a little bit of time, and they end up either going down a goal. They never start well. It's the opposite this season. For the first 15, 20, 25 minutes, they start really well. They have their shape. They have a press going on. Everyone seems to understand their role. They're pressing as a collective unit. They're pinging the ball around, and then all of a sudden, it's almost like the other team has finally got the grips of the game. They've got up to the tempo of the game, and then all of a sudden they start realizing, do you remember the tactics that our manager talked about? We're actually going to implement them now because United's tactics are going to go out the window, and it's true because after the 20th minute during that match, 25th, United's shape, everything just changed. Like Xerxes didn't just look lost. That's what it looked like. The whole, after the 25th minute, it looked like Bruno was pushed up next to Xerxes, almost like a second forward. And they looked like they were playing a diamond in the midfield with a left back being up at left wing and Mazraoui being right wing. And the difference is here. I wish we could draw on it. Liverpool were exploiting United's midfield there because Manu was getting caught up because as soon as the ball got past the front four, as soon as say Van Dijk or pass the ball to McAllister or Gravenberch or was it? I can never pronounce his name. It's like. I'm gonna butcher it.
I
don't care. He plays for Liverpool. Yeah. I really don't care to pronounce his name. But anyway, Liverpool will bypass. Manu's out of position. All they did was just completely bypass in his midfield by playing a long ball into either Jota or a diagonal ball into Salah or Diaz to get running at De Ligt or Martinez because Casemiro doesn't have the legs to get back. And I know I sent you another picture earlier where you could see whenever Liverpool didn't have the ball and the press that they had, the big difference between United and Liverpool was that when Liverpool have the ball or when they don't have the ball, they always make sure that they have numbers behind the ball, meaning that if something was to go wrong, aka Casemiro gives the ball away like he did for the first goal. That formation right there, what we just looked at, was what it looked like when Casemiro gave the ball away. He tried to pass the ball to the left wing. I don't know if it was Dallo or somebody, but there was an analysis they were doing over here, and I took a picture of it, watching home, and it's clear. Look at you see Liverpool holding two midfielders at all times, and then their front four press the ball. So what happens there? Even if the ball does get past those front four, they still have two players in the midfield that can stifle Bruno or stifle Manu or whatever, and you can clearly see Casemiro is right at the center circle.
Yeah,
the ball is at the center back. He's at the center circle, so therefore he's already out of position. Should be more back because I don't even see. You see Dallo with his hands up in the far left side.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. So he's looking for a switch, but look at Mazraoui. Look how much he's on the inside.
Yeah.
Meaning that Liverpool have pressed United to me so narrow. To the point where they can't get the lanes open. There's a thing that I read about last week, and it's great. It's called the 5-channel rule. Pep Guardiola swears by, a lot of managers swear by it. And then what they do is that, imagine if you took those lines on the pitch and you put them vertically from one goal to the other. There's 5 channels that go across the pitch, and the rule is it's called the 5-channel. Is that no more than 2 players from the same team can be in one channel at once. So what they do is that they say the right winger and the right back occupy one channel, the centre back and the right center midfield should, if you play 4-3-3, should be one channel and all the way through. And it literally talks about no player should go. There should be no more than 2 players in a channel while attacking, because what happens is that once you have two or more, once you have more than 2 players in that one channel, your shape's gone. It's completely gone. Now, if you did that rule right now, you have Casemiro, Mazraoui, and De Ligt in that same channel. So you now have no width. You now have no width. I think I'm pretty sure that ball is being played backwards to Onana. Yeah. So, and what happens is that you can see now Jota's a trigger man. He's immediately going to keep pressing. Jota's going to pressure. What's going to happen here? You'll see Salah right there over the far right. Salah pushes up to Martinez to cut off that pass. Jota pressures Onana, and Diaz pressures De Ligt. So therefore, there's no access. So what happens? Mazraoui has to go out here, but what happens is because he's so narrow, by the time he starts to try to get wide, Diaz is cut off that lane. He's cut off the angle for the pass. So therefore, as we talked about it before, I'm almost positive Onana kicks this just out. I think he just kicks it out for Liverpool throw, if I remember correctly. He tries to play the ball to Dallo, and he just kicks it out for Liverpool throw.
Yeah.
So again, Liverpool here is just their whole shape is just 10 times better than United's. Like United have like right now, you can just tell there's absolutely no shape. But what was difference between Liverpool and United in that whole match is the consistency of it. And when I noticed the reason why United fell apart, and I hate the Casemiro, everyone's just dogging on him right now, and I get it. There's reasons for it. Like give away he didn't play his best. He got hooked at halftime. But the thing is that like as a manager, the number one job you're supposed to do is get the best out of your players. Not players like meaning like 3 or 4 of them. I mean, the 11 players you have on that pitch, you have to have trained. You have to talk to them their tactics. You have to understand. You have to make sure they understand your philosophy, and you have to make sure too that they're actually fit enough to play.
Oh yeah.
United, all 4 of those aspects, I don't think United have. They don't look fit because Arne Slot, like we'll talk about it a little bit more, but Arne Slot talked about the fitness of his team. But United's entire just structure after 25 minutes just went to pot.
Yeah, it just totally went out the window. Because honestly, watching the first 25 minutes, I wouldn't say we played great, but I thought we looked well enough to get a goal.
No, exactly. No, they looked like they were up for the match. It was for the first time I've seen them go out and say, "Don't want, like, let's just have a go at them." But as soon as it was almost like that goal that was offside by Trent Alexander-Arnold that went off.
Yeah, I think that was the 6th minute, and honestly, it was unlucky too because Mo Salah.
Yeah, Mo Salah just happened to be maybe 3 inches offside. But with that being said, like United, they started well, but then as soon as Liverpool got to grips with the game and they employed their tactics, which has happened now in 3 different matches. It happened against Fulham, it happened against Brighton, and now it's happened against Liverpool. As soon as the other team, it's not that they figure out United. It's almost like they've trained to play to the United's weaknesses, and it ends up becoming their strengths. And Liverpool just completely started dominating the game, and it was all because of the fact that they had. When that one, there was the first picture you put up there about the formation. Liverpool started like that, but what happens is that they push everybody forward, so it looks like they play almost like a 4-2-4. And they always have 4 players behind the ball. So that's the way United start, right? So I would love that just instead of Manu pushing up into the midfield like he's been obviously instructed to do. Because he plays a different role for England, a completely different role for England. He plays in the same position, but he's been instructed to do something different. Because for United, he's constantly, and I never thought I'd ever say this, but Graham Souness called it out a while back, saying he's a great player, but he's not world class. But the way everyone talks about him world class, and he goes, the reason why is because he seems to empty out his position, and what he means by empty out, he seems to almost like go AWOL. No, he's supposed to be playing. He's supposed to be playing left centre midfield or left centre defensive midfield, depending on what way you look at it. And against Liverpool, too many times he wasn't there. Right? For example, granted, the first goal, Casemiro gave the ball away, but what annoyed me was that, and Roy Keane said this, and I agree with him, was that United set up to it's almost like. It's like schoolboy kind of stuff. It's like schoolboy errors. If they give the ball away, no one's going to be perfect. No one's going to go out and have 100% successful passing rate. But what United don't have is if Plan A, aka Ten Hag prides himself on having this philosophy of players being brave on the ball and playing out from the back and pinging balls on the midfielders and really creating triangles and creating angles and all this kind of stuff. But as soon as one of the players gives away the ball, it ends up, it's a goal. And it happened with Diaz's goal in the first half and happened with Salah's goal in the second half. As soon as Manu lost the ball, Liverpool countered. And no Premiership football team should be set up to the point where if you lose the ball in your own half, you're going to give up a chance. That's not the way it should be, and that's down to Ten Hag and his tactics. Like, he's literally set the point up where he has Dallo and Mezwawi up high every time.
Yeah.
So as soon as United has the ball, as soon as Casemiro gets on the ball, they're pushing up. Rashford's pushing up, Garnacho, everyone's pushing up. So all happens is you have 3 players behind the ball. One of the players has the ball at his foot, and then the other 2 players behind him is De Ligt and Martinez.
Yes.
It makes no sense. So if Casemiro loses the ball, which we know he did,
then you're screwed.
Yeah, and like you and I talked about, you were like, "Oh yeah, I'm just seeing it here." It looked like for Salah's goal was 4v2, and it was 4v2. It was Liverpool's front 4 against United's 2 centre backs because
they were high pressing the whole match.
Exactly, and like Arne Slot, like when we went through it all, and it just seemed to be too easy for him. He was asked the question, and I've been saying this before, that United need a mobile centre defence midfielder, but they also need a manager who actually knows how to get the best out of his players, because right now he's not doing it. Like Ten Hag is
it's like you can at what point, like, you can stay steadfast and have conviction in your tactics or whatever, but at one point do you just become it's an ego thing, and you need to adjust your tactics to based on the the players that you have or what's available to you at the moment, and based off of 3+ years now going into year 4, I haven't really seen that at all.
No, here have I, and I'm glad you said that, because one of the things that really popped in my mind, and I had this conversation with a couple other people, was that when Pep Guardiola first came to Man City, he ended up 4th. He was 4th, right? So everyone thought that was a failure for Pep Guardiola. They expected the same man that came in there and was winning league titles and won the treble at Barca, and he's supposed to be the godfather of the tiki taka and all this kind of stuff, right?
Yep.
And he came in, and if people go back and like watch interviews with him and then watch the players he signed, he changed his entire tactics. He knew that he couldn't come in there and play the Barcelona tiki taka in the Premiership. He just couldn't, because he didn't have the personnel, and 2, I don't think he believed it was suited for the Premiership, because there's certain teams will just
it's a total different style of the game.
Yeah. So he changed his philosophy, he changed his tactics, he changed the way he thought about football. He revitalized himself, revolutionized himself, whatever adjective, whatever verbiage you want to use for it. But he changed. And look at City now. City's just scoring goals for fun. They're winning trophies. They're about to win it they're about to go on for the unprecedented 5th time, or 4th or 5th time in a row. But then you've got, and the same you can say with Jurgen Klopp. Jurgen Klopp came in, he inherited a god-awful team, let's be honest. Like, it was bad. And he inherited a team that was on the decline. There was a lot of players that shouldn't have been at the club. Very similar to Ten Hag. So
I was going to say, it's actually funny you mentioned that. Jamie Carragher, I think, had an article in Sky Sports basically comparing Eric Ten Hag and us to Liverpool and the Brendan Rodgers days.
I would agree with that. I would say that Brendan Rodgers was when he was challenging for the league. That was under Louis van Gaal. It was like the 2015, Louis van Gaal bit them. Yeah, so it was 2014-2015 season was when Brendan Rodgers almost won it, and it fell apart. I think that's when, what was it, Vincent Kompany scored that rocket against. It might have been, or was it? I can't remember. But it was 2014-2015. I think that season was when they had what they named that the Triple S, was it the Sterling, Suarez, and Sturridge?
Yes, yep.
And no, I would agree with that. But then they eventually fell apart. Like, everyone sort of figured them out. No, they had the couple players left, but at the same time, like I think Brendan Rodgers is a better manager than Ten Hag in terms of tactic wise. Like, he's he won the FA Cup at Leicester. He's doing well right now at Celtic for the second spell.
Yeah.
And I think he probably should have, like, I think he jumped too soon from Liverpool, but at the same time, I don't think you can compare Ten Hag just because of, like, Liverpool at the time weren't really, they were 20 years in limbo. at that time. Like when Brendan Rodgers took over, like they hadn't challenged for a league. The last time they even got close was 2008 with Rafa Benitez.
Yeah.
And after that, they didn't do anything. So it was like another 7 or 8 years. But this time, it sort of reminds me, like, Ten Hag has been given the opportunity to go out and sign players, and he's signing players that and if he's not approving them, then I don't know who is. He's the manager. He should be able to sit there and say, listen, I don't think they're going to fit. I do think they're going to fit. But it's just not working. And his tactics, he needs to change. And
yeah.
I don't know if he's going to change, because I don't know if he has the ability to change.
Honestly, I and we'll get into this, a little bit later on how you want to see the team line up for the match this weekend. But yeah, honestly, I would be stunned if he's willing to make any type of adjustments. He just does it. He seems so dead set in his ways, and I would be shocked if we see anything different.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like, even like, so a perfect example is like, his tactics is, he's changed them a little bit, but he hasn't really changed in a way that it will, I'm not going to say a word you use, bamboozle, because no one's going to bamboozle somebody with their tactics, but he needs to change his tactics to the point where he can get the best out of at least 80% of his players. When I mean, like, goalkeepers are goalkeepers. My personal opinion is that United need to go goalkeeper shopping. I do not think Onana is the answer. I think he's absolutely woeful. I put him up there with Massimo Taibi for me.
The Mo Salah goal, he was definitely out of position.
Well, just look at the Champions League last year. And no, I get it. Like, a lot of people were criticizing David De Gea, including me, about his distribution from the ground. And I anticipated that, with Ten Hag coming in, Ten Hag likes to play the ball from the back, and be very methodical with your passing, and really build literally start from the back and move your way forward, kind of thing. But at this point now, like, it's almost, I would like to see Onana's save percentage to shots. I would love to know that, because it seems like anything that's just on, I'm not even saying buried in the corner. I'm saying just anything within like 2 feet left or right of him is a goal. He seems top heavy. He seems just too big. He's not agile enough. And he can't come for crosses. He comes out. He's like a bull in a china shop for crosses. Sometimes he seems to punch more players in the fist than he does the ball. He's been lucky. He's given away a penalty before. He's lucky not to give away a penalty last year. His distribution isn't exactly up there with the standards of like Ederson or Alisson that can really ping a ball.
Especially that was one of the main reasons why we supposedly brought him in. And I mean, it's was it worth it?
Yeah, nah. Like right now, like United are looking at a -4 goal differential, and I'm not saying he has to, he's the main reason for it, but I'm just, again, you said the Mo Salah goal was pretty bad. That was a really bad one. His position was off. It was almost like, and it's not like he didn't know it was coming. I would understand if United give away the ball at the top of their 18, but Manu lost the ball at the halfway.
Yeah, he was literally at the half. I mean, which wasn't great either. But I mean, like you said, it's not like he said it was inside the box, and he saw the play develop.
Yeah. So, but even with that though, like, take the goalkeeper out of the equation. Ten Hag then's got 10 other players that he needs to really focus on to make them play better. But I don't see it. And I was looking at the quote from Arne Slot about after the match. He did an interview with Roy Keane and Daniel Sturridge. And he said that this is exactly what he wrote. He said, last season, they were a man marking in the midfield, and they had a press with the 7 and 11. So, meaning that they pressed with the left winger and the right winger. So, the striker and one of the wingers jumped in with them. So, what happens, so if say, Rashford was to go ahead, right there, if Rashford was to go ahead and press, being the 11, then the striker went with them. So that's what he said there. One of the wingers or one of the strikers jumping with them. This season, they're more of a 9 and 10, meaning they're forward, and Bruno is obviously the 10. So they're more of a 4-4-2, which takes me back to that formation, which just looked like United's shape just fell apart. So that's different, of course. I see them in my opinion, working harder if the ball's being played through them. So they run more down. I don't know what that means, but so that's at least what I saw in the first few games of them. So that's when Roy Keane turned around and goes, well, how did you approach this game? If you knew what you seen, how did you approach the game? And it's exactly what I've been saying a lot, that teams seem to, like, I wouldn't say pick on Casemiro, but they do realize that because of the way United press, they bypass like their own midfield and get the ball directly into their forward players. So like right there, so their style, their fullbacks are oftentimes really high, which we've talked about before. Sometimes he has Ten Hag has instructed Dallo and now Mazraoui to be in the midfield, to push up and in. So when you have players as dangerous as Salah and Diaz, you can't do that. So it says here that sometimes, and Casemiro then comes in between. So what he means by that is exactly what I just showed in that last picture you talked about, where I showed you, or we talked about, where Casemiro was right in front of the two centre backs. So that's what he means by he's pretty much better by himself. He comes in there by in between.
Yeah, he's on a lonely island.
Exactly. So if you can pick up the ball and keep Luis Diaz and Salah high, which is that's what they did the whole match. You can clearly see that. What Liverpool did was they let pretty much Salah and Diaz, I wouldn't say cheat per se, but they didn't exactly. It was almost like he told Salah and Diaz to press the ball when the ball went to the centre backs, or when the ball went backwards, like to be up and high. So if they did win the ball, it was a matter of just playing them the ball. They'd have a one-on-one with like Diaz and Richard and Matthias de Ligt, or Salah and Martinez. And then if you need midfielders, that can run, and we had three of them today. And the three he's talking about was Zabazlai or whatever.
Yeah.
I know Gravenberch. I thought he was bright. I thought he was the man of the match personally. I think he was on. I know it went to Luis Diaz, but I think he was brilliant. And then you got wee McAllister playing as well.
Yeah.
So those three did a great job.
Now that you brought McAllister up, I mean, this is off topic a little bit. I believe it was Martinez got a little bit of slack from United fans about posting a picture with McAllister. I think it was a few days after the match. I don't think they were. I don't know if they were out to dinner or something. I can't remember the exact picture or whatever, but it seemed to cause some concern for some, or they were upset with it, I guess, because it was a couple days after the match. I know for me personally, it didn't really bother me that much. I don't know. I'd be curious to see what you thought.
No, well, here's the thing that they have to understand.
They're teammates.
They're Argentinian teammates, so naturally, like they're in a different country. So it'd be different for me, and this is just me. It'd be different for me. That's two players from the same country, from a different culture than what England does. Obviously, they're probably friends. You know, during the off season, they're friends on season. You can't just turn around like. I know, growing up, I played with a lot of players, especially growing up in Derry. I played with a lot of players in the league. Boys that played for Oxford, or boys that played for other players. But then when we got together, when we played on the Derry youth team, we acted like we were best mates. But we hated one another when we played against one another.
Yeah, of course.
When we played for our respective teams, but when we got together for the D&D or the Derry youth team, we acted like we were best mates, because that's just how it is. Like when you're teammates, like you're going to be teammates. So, but I think I have no problem with that, because one, they're, like I said, they're both Argentinian. They probably are surrounding themselves with an Argentinian player and a teammate, like you said. It's like they're getting home from home.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, they're thousands of miles away from home. They share the language, share the food or whatever, and probably, I don't know, get together with their families or whatever. So it's probably a nice way to feel like you're back home in a foreign country.
Yeah, exactly. And then, I'm sure they were probably friends before McAllister played for Liverpool. So the fact now he's living closer to Manchester for Martinez, like he used to live down in Brighton.
It's easier for them to get together.
Exactly, moved up north. It's a 45-50 minute drive for them between Liverpool and Manchester, and they probably met in the middle. So that doesn't bother me. Especially that I think fans sometimes don't realize that these players are also humans. Like it's like turning around and saying that you can't, if you know somebody that works for a rival company of yours, but you grew up as mates, and
exactly. I mean,
went to school you went to school together, but you end up. Well, you're saying an accounting firm. You're working for two different accounting firms. Obviously, you don't see one another. You fucking do.
Of course.
You can't turn around and expect somebody just to all of a sudden just drop somebody, because I get it. You hear Roy Keane all the time saying, I hate the whole people that smile and be buddy before a match. But it's one thing to do it on the pitch. It's a whole different ball game when
Yeah,
when you're not
no,
playing.
yeah. I mean, if you're doing it on match day and you're doing it on the pitch or whatever, I would understand that. Just kind of know your setting or where you're at or whatever. But if it's days after the match, I mean, like we were just talking about. I mean, you're friends before. It's it's not like you're gonna stop being friends with the guy.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like McAllister went on a 2-foot challenge on Martinez in the middle of the match. Like I can understand fans saying that, or if Liverpool, Liverpool's 1-1 now, McAllister scored the winner and he celebrated Martinez's face or something like that. But I doubt that happens. But
yeah,
that doesn't bother me. But it just that Arnie slot, after the match, it's stuff that we've all talked about in the past, where we feel like United's midfield needs a more mobile like center defensive midfield. But I know, I guess like Casemiro's getting that. He's the one right now. He's getting he's pretty much being he's a scapegoat.
Yeah.
But I don't blame him 100%. I blame Ten Hag's tactics, because everyone can see that Casemiro's not. No, he's not the player that can really like run around. He's not a Conte or a Declan Rice.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, he's not what. I mean, he's an older player now. Obviously,
No, he's still. I still think he can do a job for United, but at the same time, I think Ten Hag needs to think really, truly hard about making sure you have tactics that get the best out of each player. Right now, it seems like he's picking and choosing which players it's gonna the tactics gonna benefit. Like for example, when Solskjaer was manager at United, his tactics 100% got the best out of Tony Martial and Bruno Fernandes and even Rashford. Now, did that mean his tactics had to only be surrounding them? No, I think he really did sit down and think like, okay, how can I what tactics are going to suit the entire team as a whole? Right now, it's not. These tactics aren't working because, like Slot said, he wanted to get when we talked about when he mentioned the whole let's go ahead and get the isolate Mo Salah with Diaz, because he said if he he said if you pick up the ball and keep Luis Diaz and Mo Salah high, then you're constantly in a one-for-one situation.
Yeah,
and he's right, because every goal, like case in point, when United gave away the ball and Diaz scored the first goal, he was unbelievably just open. And if you see Mazraoui's trying to get back, but he's so high up.
Yeah, because he kept he was always up there. In fact, he might have had one of the best chances of the match of actually scoring a goal, I believe.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. But I don't get it's all down to Ten Hag's tactics. Keane talked about it and said, listen, he goes, it's all well and good wanting to play from the back. It's all well and good trying to play balls around the midfield and stuff. But he goes, one, you don't ever try to play like playing a low hard ball on the midfield, trying to get out wide. You're running the risk of it getting intercepted. But he goes, there's no way that at this level that one misplaced pass is going to be like, no, don't get me wrong, like at that level you are going to get punished for the smallest mistakes. But he goes, but as a team like Man United that spent the money they've spent, and to be able to sit there and still have like absolutely no idea tactically what they're doing, to really like Casemiro, I get it, he gave away the ball, but at the same time, I watched Konate give away the ball. I watched Trent Alexander-Arnold give away the ball. Andy Robertson give away the ball.
Nobody's going to be 100% perfect.
Yeah. But I seen them give away the ball. But the difference is that when they did give away the ball in their own half, and United looked to break, they were tactically set up sound, because they always had 4 to 5 players behind the ball when they did have the ball. Where United, when they have the ball and they're trying to go forward, they're completely just
they're wide open.
They're abandoning the back line. They're told, okay, I need to just get as much support up forward, because Rashford's not scoring, and Garnacho, I'm playing him out of position just to appease Rashford, because Rashford needs to play left wing.
And that's a whole other conversation too, which why are we appeasing Rashford just because he's, a higher paid player or whatever? I mean, he's doing nothing for us. Like, he needs to be bent. He needs to be set immediately, as far as I'm concerned.
I have no idea. Maybe there's something in his contract that says he has to start X amount of matches a season. I have no idea. I don't know. Yeah. I don't get it, man. I don't get it. It's like the definition of insanity. It's like you keep doing the same shit over and over again. It's like, I just don't get it. Yeah, you're right. I think I don't think we ever will at this point. This is another example of the Ten Hag not willing to change, not willing to make the big tough decision of just saying, "Listen, Marcus, you're not." The only time he's dropped them was because of display purposes. He's never dropped them because of performances.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
Is, which is alarming.
Which is bizarre because I mean, you know, I know there's so much money wrapped up in some of these players, and you know, but if you're not performing, man, you know, especially, you know, if you're in that locker room and, you know, you're looking at some of these guys and it's like, you know, you're not performing and here I am, you know, I'm doing my thing, putting in work in this and that and or whatever. You know, I feel like that's how you can lose a locker room a lot of times.
I think so as well. And I think that's another reason why I think that mindset sort of kicks in. It's always great when you're winning. No one ever questions the negative stuff, but when you're losing, no one ever questions
everything is amplified.
Stuff. Yeah. So right now, and that's what I meant. Like that mindset, I think, is 100% right in terms of the way the players are, because you can clearly see when a match goes south, then it's going sideways and it's going everywhere, every which direction, but upwards and positive.
Yeah.
The players, it's almost like they turn around and think that exact mindset thing, and like, well, he's not doing it. Like there was one point I know that during the match, I watched United were trying to press, and this is when it was 1-0 in the first half. This was before PSG got a second. And I noticed that it showed you, was it Xerxes and Bruno both pressed to the same player, and I think it was it was either Konate or Van Dijk, and either one of them did. They just turned, played the ball back to Alisson, and then all Alisson did was just got the ball and just pinged it like past them into the midfield. I think it was to McAllister, and then McAllister turned, and all of a sudden, boom! There's 4 players that's been taken out because Rashford was standing up high, not doing anything. He was supposed to be pressed, but didn't do anything. Garnacho's doing the same thing in the right wing. And I think what's going on there is that they're looking at one another, and Garnacho's probably young, and he's a young fella. He's looked across at Rashford and said, well, he's not pressing, so why should I? Or he's not running back, why should I? And I think that's going through every team then's going through, the team's just going through the motions. And you've got, like we mentioned earlier, there's no leaders that's willing to really to have the difficult decisions and really shout at one another, and it's almost like everyone's trying to be too buddy. Everyone's rather be each other's friend.
I will say this is just something that I noticed when rewatching the game, and I actually liked it. They showed an angle of Arne Slot. I believe it was after the first or the second. I think it was the first goal, and Garnacho was standing right there, and I'm sure none of them are happy, obviously, but he looked like he was generally pissed off, and I'm pretty sure he probably uttered a few curse words in Spanish or whatever and grabbed his hair or whatever. I don't know, maybe I'm looking into this too much, but when I saw that, I was like, oh, all right, well, at least I know he cares, Well,
I think it's a mixture of maybe he does care, but I think a lot of it has to be frustration. I think.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Because a lot of these players at United, and I feel bad for them too, because the tactics again that Ten Hag has been implementing isn't really getting the best out of them. So a lot of people are thinking, "Oh, he's shit. He's not world class. They're not even. They're League One standard."
Yeah.
So what's happening is you've got players who, under other managers, are going to play. They're going to play well. So I can guarantee right now, if Garnacho was to go ahead and say he's been disillusioned, he's like, I'm not going to. United's not the place for me, and say I can guarantee right now if Real Madrid were to say, "Hey, we want you to come here," you'll see him play you'll see a completely different Garnacho under Carlo Ancelotti. Or if you were to turn around and say, "Oh, he's going to leave and go to Barcelona, for example," anyway, and play under I'm drawing a blank, the German manager over there.
And
he's got this another manager too that's came into a really unprecedented situation. He can't even register players. Certain players he signed, he can't register because of FIFA, because of the fair play regulations within La Liga. But he has his team playing unbelievable football. Whereas Ten Hag's been here now. This is going into his 3rd season. He spent well over $250 million on players, and he's still nowhere closer to his final product of really implementing the right tactics than he was when he first joined.
So I know your answer, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, but just gonna ask this for my own curiosity. Uh, if Eric Ten Hag is, if he had, put it this way, if he had the season that he had last year and he was at a Real Madrid or a Barcelona, he's sacked, right? He's probably not even making it to the end of the season.
If he's at Chelsea, dude, like they're sacking him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I think what United fans need to realize now is that, like, I think the one club we're not on the same level as Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City. I hate to say it because I don't think I would have said that in my life. United right now are probably in the same kind of boat as a West Ham or a Newcastle, and
they're basically a mid-table club that has a very high budget.
Yeah, exactly. And even with that though, United don't even have a budget. They had to sell McTominay in order to sign Ugarte. But with that being said, like, it's just right. And I think it all comes down to the manager. I'm not trying to sit there and like rag on like Ten Hag, but he wasn't exactly the man they wanted for. I say they, I mean in the English group. That the rumors are true that they were out interviewing other people, and supposedly all these new articles are coming out saying that, like, you know, Tuchel was 95% convinced he was going to take the job, but then the 5% that made him walk away is because they told him he wasn't going to have complete control. Over transfers. He wanted complete control over transfers, and they said no. And they probably remember that. Was it the 3 or 4 or 5 point system we talked about with Jason? Wilcox implemented, where they said, like, listen, whatever position you want, we'll find you 3 players, and you choose the best of those 3 players. I think Tuchel was like, no. I know the way my tactics are. I know my philosophy, and I know the way I like to play football. I like my team to play football. I will be the one that can tell you what players we need to sign. I don't need you going out and finding. No.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I agree with him. You're the manager of the team. That should be your decision.
Yeah. Whereas I can guarantee you right now, if you thought back in the day, like if Ferguson, let's just say, imagine the Ineos group under United under Ferguson, and then granted Ferguson, I think at the same time Ferguson earned his right to dictate transfers. But let's just say Ineos took over United in 1989, 1990 when Ferguson was on the cusp, and they turned around. I can guarantee Ferguson would have walked away. He would have left. But that's again down to back to where we're talking about Ten Hag and the spending the money. Are we to believe now that maybe Ten Hag didn't sign the players that he's signing, or are they really signing the players that did he make a list and say, here's the players I want? Or are they turned around saying, no, are they trying to play pulling his little heartstrings and say, hey, I can get you a former Ajax player, do you want them?
Yeah, honestly, those are all good questions. I don't have the answer for it. The more I kind of, as the season goes along, I'm kind of questioning everything. I'm questioning, obviously, like we've just spent almost 50 minutes talking about Ten Hag's tactics or whatever. But I mean, I'm kind of questioning Ineos in a sense too, just because, like, I don't want to sound like I'm doing, I guess, Monday morning quarterbacking to throw an American football term in it, but I mean, because I wanted Ten Hag back and I wanted to see him, have another year or whatever. But I mean, Ineos made it very clear and apparent that they didn't want him back, and they essentially made this decision off of one game, the FA Cup final. So and especially how long and protracted and dragged out the process was or whatever, I'm kind of down on Ineos right now. Like, I'm questioning if I have faith in them to do this correctly.
Yeah. Well, like, I agree with that. And
I know it's early days, but the thought is in my head.
I don't think it's as early days as I know it's only early into the season. I hate when people turn around and say, "Well, they sign new players, and new players need to settle." And I'm like, all right, but wait a minute, like outside of what, 2 players from that team. Or 3 players. There's 8 players in that team that played in the team last year against Liverpool. So, like, you take out
De Ligt,
take out Masraoui,
Marty,
and you
yep.
take out Xerxes, and that's it.
Yep.
Everyone else played against Liverpool last season.
Yep.
So you can't turn around and think, well, players need to gel. They need to get. No, at the end of the day, like, you can say the same thing about a manager. You can say a manager needs to come in. It's going to take him a little time to get his tactics implemented, but you've got managers that are doing. You got the youngest manager in Premier League history at Brighton. He's 31 or 32.
Yeah,
and he's got his tactics immediately implemented. And Brighton over the years have been a selling club. They've sold some of their top talent, but they seem to still play a certain brand of football.
Yeah, exactly.
At a very high level, at a very consistent level, where like United, that's the one word you can never describe United as consistent.
No, it's the total opposite. It's inconsistent. That's basically that's the only consistent is that we are inconsistent.
Exactly, and that's the thing. So like back to your point of saying like, we sort of question, it's like we do, because at the same time, like, you could have turned around. Everyone was saying, well, Ten Hag had a lot of injuries last year, so therefore, like, he never really had a starting 11. He never had a very strong team week in, week out. 100%, I get that, I do, and like maybe that they can, but at the same time now we're in a new season. He has two injuries, or now three. Mason Mount back out, so right now he's got Højlund, and let's be honest, Højlund's not Haaland, and he's not Harry Kane, and he's not Lewandowski.
No.
He's not like, we're not missing a 30-goal a season player.
Yeah,
so
I would like to think he turns into that, but I don't know if that's happening.
So we're not seeing that. Like, I get it. He may be tactically, he's a different. He might be the trigger. I don't know. Maybe he understands tactics better, and that's why it's not really working. But we're not seeing exactly a blueprint of what Ten Hag said when he first came in. And then back to Ineos, we talked about this in the last podcast, and I think it might be creeping out already, is that the players almost down tools on Ten Hag. They really did last season. They did. I'd say the FA Cup final, they did. They almost threw to win the semi-final against Coventry.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there was the game, the game last year that I actually remember saying this to everyone in our group chat. I was like, man, if you have a clunker like this, and you've lost the locker room. I can't remember the game it was. It was basically a relegation team. I think we were playing a team that I'm drawing a blank on it.
The one match I remember, there was two matches last season that like really always stuck out to me. It was the Chelsea. They were up 3-2. They were down 1-0. That was 1 each, then 2-1, then 2 each, then 3-2. And then they gave up 2 goals. They gave up a goal in the 97th minute, and then they gave up another goal, and like it was a short corner. They just didn't pay attention. And Palmer had a deflected goal, and they won 4-3 in like the 100th minute or something. That match stuck out to me. But then the other match that really stuck out to me was the 4-0 match at Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park. Palace battered 4-0. Absolutely battered United 4-0. And that's when I felt like the players are down tools then, because they went into Crystal Palace. They're going to get bit. It's one thing if you lose a match 1-0, but to lose 4-0 and to be played off the pitch. And then I was like, right, okay, the players might play for him. They obviously did for the FA Cup final, but everyone can get up for an FA Cup final. The one thing that bothers me is that we talked about in previous podcasts, there's no guarantee that these players are also turning around saying, well, Ineos didn't really want him here. So if we don't want him here, we just need to stop performing, because they're gonna fire him. They can't sack. They're not gonna sack us.
Yeah, exactly.
They can't. The transfer window is closed, so we have this protected golden power shit, whereas Ten Hag doesn't. So is that the mindset that's popping in now? These players turn around saying, no, the tactics aren't working, so therefore we're going to stop working, or no? I just don't know at this point, because there's been too many performances with what we've just seen against Liverpool. We've seen too many of those bad performances. We've seen the 7-0s. We've seen 3-0s. No, we've seen 4-0s. We've seen a lot of really bad matches.
And anytime there seems to be, or there is a match that we play really well or win convincingly, it's always followed up typically by a clunker at some point.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I really, honestly, at the top of my head, cannot remember a match. The way I can remember a negative match, which is all people can turn and say, is you being a pessimistic dickhead. but I'm from Derry. I'm allowed to be. But I can't remember a match where United actually dominated from kickoff
From
to full
start
time.
to it's definitely not last year, and not really this year either. If I'm being 100% honest.
Yeah, like Fulham, they were lucky to
Follow,
get the
yeah,
1-0. And then
result.
Brighton, that was a result they deserved to lose that match. Like,
Yeah.
Danny Welbeck hit the crossbar and everything.
This
That
bar,
match,
yeah, and then Liverpool, they just got absolutely played off the pitch.
play off the pitch by tactics like a listen
Yeah.
and read. Like it's just so simple that now is Ten Hag going to listen to Arne Slot's comments and think, do I want to change it, or
I was going to say, now that we're talking about that, you were talking earlier. You say you have a solution or something that you would like to see Ten Hag line up with. I'll share it right now. We can talk about that before we sign off. Basically, you're looking to go with Ugarte and Casemiro in the center defensive midfield role.
No, I'd prefer and the reason I say that is because of just how open the midfield was. If you have two defensive-minded players in the midfield and let Bruno join up to those front three, so it turns into be a front four. So literally, it ends up. I'm not trying to copy Arne Slot's tactics, but it's a very similar tactical mindset in terms of you've got two holding midfielders at all times that's going to sit in there, and it goes back to that picture we talked about earlier when we looked at the tactics that Liverpool employed against United, where you see McAllister and Gravenberch just sit in there. It's the same mindset here. I think that because you can't leave Casemiro on an island. The reason he looked so good at Real Madrid was because he had the likes of Luka Modric and Toni Kroos around him as well. Yeah. He doesn't have that at United. United literally expect him to be
the end all be all.
Yeah, and he can be but the thing is, you have to support him. You have to give him the support the supporting team around him. Bruno's going to get forward. I think Ten Hag's trying to his best to appease Bruno in terms of getting him into that number 10 role, that center midfield role to get him back to where he was doing for Solskjaer.
Yeah,
and I think what's going on right now is that there's a massive disconnect. But I know a lot of people are going to say I'm absolutely nuts for turning around and saying dropping Kobe Mainoo, but until Mainoo really matures into the role of being a center, being a box-to-box midfielder, I think he can play, but I don't think right now, unless the only way this works is that if they turn around and change Mainoo's position to set a box-to-box midfielder and he just plays holding midfield as well, and they drop Casemiro and they put him in with Ugarte. But my mindset is that I think you need to have two anchors here to get this team playing well, because if you do have Mazraoui, and there's another thing we talked about too, if Mazraoui and Dallo are gonna get into the attacking, that's what's going to look like when they're pressing. That's what you're gonna have four pressing the ball, so you're gonna have and that's back to what Arne Slot said: 7 and 11. Press. You got Rashford up pressing with Garnacho. As soon as he sees Rashford, and you have Bruno up there as well. But right there is that if all of a sudden, say Bruno tries to play a ball, there's Orsini lose it, and they end up trying to break. You've got 6 players behind the ball. Let's say 5 in case Mazraoui's up trying to overlap Garnacho, or Dallo's up there trying to overlap Rashford. You still have at least 4 to 5 players. Yeah,
you still have bodies back there, and that can. If something happens,
you still have numbers, and but not only you have numbers, but you also Casemiro's not expecting them to make a 35 to 40 yard sprint, because let's be honest, he doesn't. That's not.
He doesn't have it. Yeah.
So with this being said, back to what we were talking about earlier too about balance. United don't have a balance yet, and I think this is the only way to get balance out of the team, is play 2 old midfielders. Now, Ugarte might not be. Ten Hag always says these players aren't match fit. I still don't even. I think the players that start aren't match fit. So maybe we don't even see Ugarte. But let's say Ugarte doesn't play. Mainoo needs to be more disciplined in his role. If he's going to venture forward and try to join the attack and get in there and play a couple of balls here, he can do it. The Man City match is a perfect example of how Mainoo can be more. He can play attacking football.
Yeah.
But the big difference between that match was the fact that United had Amrabat and McTominay holding midfield. They had 2 anchors.
Yeah,
they had 2
exactly.
fucking anchors behind them.
Yeah,
Bruno
so
and
he
Manu
he
could do what
didn't
they want.
have to worry about, basically all he had to do was worry about is going up.
Exactly. So, like, if you and this exact formation you're showing right now, if you replace Xerxes with Manu, this is exactly the formation that looked like against City, because you had Rashford high, Garnacho was high, and then you had Manu and Bruno were playing that sort of like you had Bruno in a false nine, and then you had Manu supporting him in another center attack and center midfield role. But behind him, you had Amrabat and McTominay anchoring right behind them.
Yep.
So if they did lose the ball, they had numbers behind. Now, this whole mindset of like, oh yeah, let Manu venture forward Bruno, so it almost looks like United's playing a 4-1 or a 4-3-3 with an inverted triangle in the midfield. It's not working, because as soon as United lose the ball, their whole formation's off. But the whole balance thing I want to see going forward too, and this is an old school thing. But again, remember I said about the 5 channels?
Yeah.
Earlier, if you draw a line down the left side with Rashford and Dallo, there's 2 players, but like we're going forward, right? And you do the same with you do the channels all the way over. You'll notice if you take out the center backs, because the center backs they're not gonna join the attack. But if you look at there's the 2-player rule going all the way across.
Yeah.
You have the 2-player. You have Rashford, Dallo, Xerxes, Ugarte, Fernandez, Casemiro, Garnacho, Mazraoui, and that's the 5. And then you have a 5-channel going all the way across, and then you have one through the middle. But with what's going on right now, we don't have that, because you have Dallo bombing forward and you have Mazraoui bombing forward. So therefore, and then right now you don't have Ugarte in there with the Casemiro. So what happens is you have Casemiro, Martinez, and De Ligt in United's defensive half.
Yeah.
And against Liverpool knew this. They knew how to play it. They knew how to cheat, if you will, a little bit, by keeping Salah and Luis Diaz high. And then what happened then was the goals.
Yeah.
And if you see the first goal, you'll see that Mazraoui was so far up, and so was Dallo, that's why the ball. That's how Liverpool were able to go down the wings and cross it on the back post. So with this, if say Dallo is up overlapping, Ugarte can sort of push over to the left and be like a makeshift left back.
Yep.
Not saying he gets the speed to do. I'm just saying he can be disruptive. He at least can be a presence in that area.
A body. Exactly.
And the same mindset for Mazraoui. If Mazraoui's up, Casemiro can sort of pinch over to have a better formation, a bit more structure to the team. But right now they can't have both Dallo and Mazraoui going forward at the same time. That's what's going on. But there was an old school Italian tactic that came out years ago, and we implemented it ironically at the team I'm wearing the team I'm wearing the shirt right now, the coaching jersey of. It looked like almost like a Nike check.
Yeah.
And so if the ball was on the right hand side, you would have Mazraoui up at the very top of the Nike check. So you'd have Dallo here, and you would have Martinez at the bottom of it, and then the check went like that, and you'd have De Ligt, Mazraoui, right? And that's if Mazraoui is pressuring the ball. Now, if it's all the way around, it would invert. And it was the same too with the midfield and all that kind of stuff. And that's what I think United need to get back to, because it allowed for balance to occur. But right now, United just need to, hopefully they come back from the international break with a different mindset, and Ten Hag's got his head out of his arse, and we might see a better team. They're playing a newly promoted team in Southampton at 12:30 kickoff, so 7:30 over here.
7 our time.
7:30.
I'm all for it. I don't know what to expect for this match. Before we sign off, what's your expectations for Southampton?
I don't know at this point. I don't know if there's any players coming back from the international duty with a couple little injuries. It seems to happen. Like I seen that Odegaard from Arsenal was on crutches from being away at Norway. Is Højlund going to be back? No, I haven't seen any. I haven't seen much reports saying, because the last time I heard he was supposed to be back mid-September. We're in mid-September. No, he hasn't played a match at all so far. And we were told 6 weeks back in August. So we're at the 6-week mark. If Højlund's back, do we see Rashford being dropped and Xerxes starting left wing, or do we?
Honestly, I would be okay with that. Shake it up. Try something else, because Rashford isn't the answer, at least not right now.
Well, geez, it wouldn't be a bad thing either to see maybe possibly Garnacho left wing, and then maybe even Højlund right wing because he's got a lethal left foot, and put Xerxes up front, or have Xerxes and Højlund interchanged. You just don't know. Play it maybe a 4-4-2, and no, I don't know what they're gonna do at this point. Like it's the back to the consistently inconsistent mindset that we talked about earlier. We don't know as United fans. I can tell you right now, growing up, I could have named it starting 11 every single week. No, bar injuries. Yeah. And now, I don't even know who's going to play. I don't know the starting lineup. I don't know what tactics are going to be implemented.
Nope.
No, the one thing that's going to be consistent is that we will be inconsistent. So I'm hoping for a United result, but until I see, we're probably going to hear more team news tomorrow. Wednesday's usually the time when the team news starts to come out.
Yeah.
Training and all that kind of stuff, because there was still international matches tonight. I seen that Colombia beat Argentina.
Yep.
Brazil was losing to Paraguay. So we'll
last I saw, I think U.S. or Pochettino's debut actually. Yeah, they were playing. Yeah, they were wrapping up when we were signing on here, so I didn't get to see the final.
Yeah, it was 1-H. It was against New Zealand, but I've seen Colombia.
Hey, that's that's an improvement from the Canada match, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So, no, they have a good manager, Pochettino, manager that could have come into United, but now he's off the books. But I still think if Ten Hag was to go, if Ten Hag's to go, I think it's going to be either Tuchel or, I hate to say it, but Gareth Southgate. I think Dan Ashworth has his little.
God Almighty! Please stop that blasphemy. I can think of 1,000 other people I would rather over Gareth Southgate. I mean, all you had to do is just watch the England team. I don't understand why they have such a love or a hard-on for him, because I don't get it.
I think I'm willing to give Ten Hag more time, in my opinion, but if it continues this way, he turned it around in his first season when they lost the two opening matches. They lost to Brentford.
Well, we got, so it's this month I wouldn't say is too bad. We got Southampton, Barnsley, Palace. We got a Europa League at 20. Spurs, and then October, Porto, Villa, Brentford, Fenerbahce, and West Ham. So I would say there's definitely. I don't think that's a terrible. I don't think that's a terrible run right there, D.
No, and I think as long as he can try to play in some of the cup matches, like the Barnsley match, and even some of the Europa League. Try to rotate some of the players, like keep the injury list low, like let the Lit play, let Maguire play.
I was gonna say, we've got plenty of center backs now that we could definitely for squad rotation. So, barring any injuries or whatever, I think we should be good for there right now.
Exactly, and that's the thing. I don't like. Again, I haven't heard anything about. What's his name? McAllister.
I don't. Yeah, is he even still on the team?
Seems like it, but I have no idea. But we'll see. I'm hoping for United win, but we'll just have to sort of.
Here's my here's my prediction for Saturday, D. There will be lots of alcohol involved. I don't. That's about all that's about all my prediction, and I don't know if it'll be followed because of we're drinking for celebration or depression.
I don't know. That's never a good mindset, though.
Yeah.
Either way, you're drinking. So. But I'm hoping for United win, but we'll just have to wait and see what kind of.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys. Well, again, we appreciate you guys tuning in for another episode of Biggie and Smalls. I think we found a new segment too before we signed off. Tactics with the big lad. So maybe this is something we can integrate more into our regular podcast. I know I certainly enjoyed it. But again, thanks for listening. Like and subscribe wherever you can find our podcast. Search Biggie and Smalls. And we're on social media, Instagram. D, give your Instagram a plug real quick before we sign off.
No problem. It's good old DC.McGuigan.
And I'm at KeyFit. I'm at KeyFit86, and we will talk to you guys next week. Hopefully, it's a Man United victory.